May we be seated. Honorable members, the Secretary will read the order.
Debate on vote number 31, Small Business Development Appropriation Bill.
I will now call upon the Honorable Minister of Small Business Development,
House Chairperson, Ministers and Deputy Ministers present here today, Chairperson Mayor Ruth Bengu, Member of the Portfolio Committee of Small Business Development, and of course, my brand new Deputy Minister, Deputy Minister November, who is here today. Director General of the Department, Professor Edith Fries, and your members, members of the Audit Committee, board chairpersons, board members of executive officers of our entities, both CIFA and CEDA and their chairs, our social partners, organized business formation representing small businesses and cooperatives, and informal sector, labor, academia, community members, the media, small business owners and practitioners, and I must say, Chairperson, those are the people that make me wake up in the morning to make sure that the job is done, because everything that we are doing here is for them and not for ourselves. Private sector representatives, our special guest compatriots. It is a mere 3 years ago that the President announced the establishment of the Department of Small Business Development in May 2014. This announcement marked a turning point in the history of SMMEs and cooperatives development in South Africa, demonstrating government's commitment to place SMMEs and cooperatives at the center of economic growth and job creation. This is in line with the aspirations of the National Development Plan, which we ought to achieve in 2030, a vision the ANC-led government is still very much committed to. Consistent with our mandate to create an enabling environment to establish new and grow existing small businesses, our collective efforts to unlock the potential of SMMEs and cooperatives remains firmly on track. In this year of Oliver Reginald Tambo, a year of unity in action, all South Africans who regard themselves as patriots carry a responsibility to intensify efforts to create an economy that benefits all and not allow this goal to be an elusive mirage for the historically dispossessed. House Chairperson, I'd like to quote Reginald Oliver Tambo's views as expressed as far back as in 1991 when he said, and I quote, "The objective of our struggle in South Africa as set out in the Freedom Charter encompasses economic emancipation. It is inconceivable for the liberation to have meaning without a return of the wealth of the country to the people as a whole. To allow the existing economic forces to retain their interests intact is to feed the roots of racial supremacy and exploitation, and does not represent even the shadow of the liberation. Loyal to the pledge we made during the liberation struggle, we will never consider our mission accomplished and freedom attained until all our people have been emancipated from economic bondage, poverty, inequality, unemployment, and despair. Therefore, the right of the majority to economic inclusivity will never be betrayed, not by this ANC-led government. Thus, our relentless pursuit of radical socio-economic transformation continues unapologetically and without question. What we mean by radical economic transformation was clearly articulated by His Excellency President Jacob Zuma during his 2017 State of the Nation address, and I quote, "We mean fundamental change in the structure, system, institutions, and patterns of ownership, management, and control of the economy in favor of all South Africans, especially the poor, the majority of whom are African and female, as defined by the governing party, which makes policy for the democratic government," close quote. Thus, in pursuance of this goal, our mainstreaming of programs ensures that 50% of our products support enterprises in the township areas, 50% to women-owned enterprises, 30% to youth-owned enterprises, and 30% operating in rural areas. In this financial year, we are planning greater emphasis on youth-owned enterprises. During this address, we will indicate to the House the extent to which we have remained true to this commitment. Since our inception in May 2014, we have been mobilizing society and raising awareness around entrepreneurship, small business, and in cooperative sector, and the challenge that confront it and the opportunities available to them. Because of our collective and concerted efforts, the majority of our citizens now appreciate the value and contribution of small businesses to our economy. They realize that supporting small business will defeat the scourge of poverty, unemployment, and inequality. The mindset is definitely changing. A changing mindset is important, as for too long, South Africa has had a big business mindset. It is our considered view that in order to address what the World Bank has termed missing middle, serious investment must be made towards bridging the gap between big and small companies, as well as business and cooperatives, as small businesses and cooperatives are the lifeblood of economic growth and development. I can now boldly assert that we have successfully placed small business and cooperatives firmly on the national agenda so that we bridge the divide between too big and too small. As a result of our efforts, we now have the high levels of awareness within government that is encouraging. It is also fulfilling and exciting as more and more ministers accept that small business development is a national priority, and they unreservedly pledge to support of their departments. We have truly become advocates, defenders, and supporters of this sector. Recent research confirms our view on the changing mindset. A study by the Global Entrepreneurship and Development Institute, which we commissioned, has revealed that South Africa is making significant progress, ranked number 2 on the continent in terms of the quality of its small business and the development of entrepreneurial ecosystem. We are also cognizant of opposing views of the maturity of our small business ecosystem. For example, the Global Entrepreneurship Monitor, generally known as GEM, highlighted the low levels of entrepreneurial activity in our country. The focus globally is around sustainability of entrepreneurs rather than the number of startups introduced into the ecosystem. We want to have the best of both worlds by deepening our efforts to get more people starting businesses, but we are also active in graduation and scaling up programs that are now producing quality small business. We are working with thought leaders, academic and research institutions to enhance our understanding and the instruments to improve our entrepreneurial ecosystem. The National SMME Policy Colloquium has been an important forum where the Ministry interacts with broader private sector stakeholders as well as SMME practitioners since the advent of the Ministry in 2014. The Colloquium, which is a partnership between the department and the Small Business Development Institute, as represented here, provides an important platform where key issues pertaining to matters confronting SMMEs and cooperatives are discussed. One of the key recommendations that arose from the colloquium was for the department to consider introducing a national SMME policy master plan linked to the National Development Plan. And in this regard, the department and SBDI has established an interim master plan task team that presented this proposal to the last colloquium, which was held in 2016. And the department is currently considering the report emanating out of the colloquium. House Chairperson, the contribution of small SMMEs to the South African economy is far below its potential. According to the quarterly financial statistics report, the private sector earned a total of 2.3 trillion in turnover in the last quarter of 2016. Large businesses dominant in the manufacturing and trade industries contributed 60% to the total, followed by small businesses at 40%. We need to do better and match the global average, which shows small business share higher levels of participation in various economies. This is possible if we heed the President's directive to set aside at least 30% of government's procurement budget, around 600 billion, towards SMMEs and cooperatives. It is significant to note that while large business remain dominant in the manufacturing and trade industries, their contribution to turnover was reduced from 63 to 60%, and a slight growth by SMMEs from 37 to 40%. The tax revenue collected from SMMEs also demonstrates that this sector is increasingly becoming a force to be reckoned with. The contribution by SMMEs continues to increase in terms of the 4 tax categories, namely pay-as-you-earn, which increased from 57 to 59%. The contribution by SMMEs to the skills development levy increased from 51 to 54%, corporate income tax from 65 to 67, and value-added tax from 57 to 58. The contribution of small businesses to the unemployment insurance fund also increased from 62% to 64%. The contribution of SMMEs to the economy continued to increase despite the increasingly difficult economic conditions. Working together as a small business development portfolio comprising the department, CEDA, and CIFA, including our social partners, we are determined to strengthen the small business sector, to enable it to occupy its rightful place in the mainstream economy, and to demonstrate that small business is big business of the future. And working together, indeed, we can achieve more. Like new organization, there are teething problems that are bound to be encountered. Even organizational design experts will concur that 3 years is a relatively short time in which to establish a new organization, particularly an entire national government department that seeks to serve such a significant sector of the economy. We will agree that the budget available is far below what is needed to deliver our mandate. Despite the above, and regrettably, we were unable to spend all the resources allocated for the 26-2017 financial year due to systemic reasons. However, we've been able to set up a sound administration in the department, resulting in us achieving an unqualified audit outcome in the first year of operating budget vote 31. And all indications are that the department will maintain an unqualified audit outcome in respect of 2016-2017 financial year. Both CEDA and CIFA also maintained their record of clean, unqualified audit outcomes, and I thank you very much. House Chairperson, I'm pleased to inform the House that the department's vacancy rate is below 10%. The target for women in senior management positions, 50%, as well as the target for people with disability, 2%, have exceeded with 3.5 and 0.5 respectively. House Chairperson, despite these limitations, we are proud of the services we have delivered, its impact on the sector, noting that of service delivery response has been informed by the views and proposals of small business and cooperative sector. I'd like to integrate our response to the key challenges faced by SMMEs with responding to our achievements over the past year, as well as 2017-2018 priorities. Stop shouting. Firstly, policies, legislation, and regulation are the core levers in the control of government through which an enabling environment for small business to grow and thrive in our economy. In our last budget speech, we asked the National Treasury to fast-track the implementation of 30% set-aside policy program for small business and cooperatives. We are encouraged with the progress made towards achieving its implementation of the 30% set aside announced by the President in 2015 and further reiterated in his 2017 State of the Nation address. National Treasury has gazetted the revised preferential procurement regulations in January 2017, which encourages government and its entities to procure at least 30% of goods and services from SMMEs and cooperatives. It is important to note that National Treasury is working on the procurement bill, which will streamline government's procurement process and provide for the full implementation of the 30% procurement for SMMEs and cooperatives. We need much more than 30%. I'm pleased to report that the 30% targeted procurement from SMMEs has been exceeded by provinces such as Gauteng, KwaZulu-Natal, and the Northwest, as well as some national government departments such as Public Works, Tourism, and my own department. The Department of Small Business Development recorded 60% procurement from SMMEs and cooperatives. House Chairperson, a monitoring and evaluation framework with an implementation plan for the monitoring of the 30% procurement directive has been developed in collaboration with the National Treasury to ensure effective monitoring. This intervention is timeless in the light of the recent unfortunate downgrades. We see that the downgrades will negatively impact on small businesses and our cooperatives, and their ability to absorb or recover from the potential shock is limited. Hence, we have commissioned research and we will conduct stakeholder consultations in order to craft an appropriate response to the potential impact of the downgrade in this sector. We are proud to report that preliminary stakeholder consultation, the review of the National Small Business Development Act, number 102 of 1996, as amended in 2004, have been completed. The objective of the review is to introduce standard definitions, greater policy and program harmonization, as well as improved monitoring of impact of government and private sector investment in small business and cooperatives development. We expect the bill to be introduced in the legislative process in the first quarter of 2018. House Chairperson, if there is a point of consensus between policymakers and small business sector, it is the need to ease the burden of compliance. Our efforts to reduce the burden of regulatory compliance by small businesses is gaining momentum. Since 2014, we have rolled out the guidelines on the red tape reduction to about 165 municipalities. Building on these guidelines, at least 2 provinces, KwaZulu-Natal and the Western Cape, have adopted these guidelines into provincial response. The red tape reduction program has been enhanced to cover analysis and research areas to minimize challenge faced by small businesses. Our plans for the future include assessment of regulatory protocols within various provinces and the introduction of ICT as one of the instruments of creating efficiencies. We would like to acknowledge the insight and constructive proposals that we have consistently received from organized business. We are confident that through the collaborative efforts, we will progressively gravitate towards a simplified business environment. I would also like to say, secondly, access to finance has consistently been raised as a challenge by informal startups, existing SMMEs and cooperatives in response to the felt needs. There are a range of instruments, grants and loans available to small business development. The department has, through the Black Business Support Development Program, supported 611 small businesses and has dispersed grants to the value of 268 million during 2016-2017. During the same period, the Cooperatives Incentive Scheme supported 237 cooperatives and disbursed grants to the value of 64.85 million. In total, 333 million was spent towards supporting cooperatives and small businesses. Our entity, CIFA, continues to contribute to the stimulation of the economy through financing of small enterprises since its establishment in 2010. It has financed over 237 businesses and facilitated the creation of about 262,000 jobs. Since 2014, CIFA has disbursed funds to over 50,000 youth-owned enterprises. Honorable Chair, I'm pleased to say that women entrepreneurs remain a major strategic focus of CIFA. I am certain that I'm certain that President of the South African Informal Traders Alliance, Mrs. Roshida Mula and Mrs. Rose Nkosi, Chairperson of the South African Spaza Shop Association, SASTA, will both be pleased to learn that SIFA has allocated 25 million for microloans targeting informal businesses. And I know that this
Honorable
is not
Member, may you
enough.
round up?
In conclusion, Chairperson, I would also like to raise the fact that we have the challenges of, we have the department focusing on non-financial support through CEDA. And I would also like to mention that we have a lot of work that we are doing to make sure that there is access to markets and access to finances for our small and medium enterprises. I'd also like to mention the fact that we are working together with the private sector to make sure that the support that we give to small and medium enterprises is coordinated. Lastly, I would also like to mention that as part of our improving the Department of Small and Medium Enterprises, we are working for a coordinated approach towards the 3 spheres of government. The budget 2017-2018 on financial allocation, transfers and subsidies take up to 84.8% or 1.24 billion in the allocated 1.6
Honorable
46
Member,
billion.
your time is up.
Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister of Small Business Development. I will now call upon Honorable N.R. Bengu.
Honorable Chairperson, honorable members, distinguished guests, fellow South Africans. The ANC supports the budget of the Department of Small Business Development. We commend the Minister of Small Business Development, Ms. Lindy Wezulu, Deputy Minister Elizabeth Chabete, and officials in the department under the leadership of DG Professor Edith Fries for their resilience and ability to transform the Department of Small Business Development from being a program of DTI to a fully fledged department with a much broader mandate of championing development of SMMEs and cooperatives in South Africa, and coordinate other departments and spheres of government to align their APPs and budgets so as to provide support services required by SMMEs and cooperatives in a coordinated manner to reduce the red tape of duplication of activities, confusion at community level, and use limited resources to achieve maximum results. Those familiar with change management processes would agree with us in that transformation is a very difficult process to go through. We are pleased that the department has passed forming and storming stages of organizational development and is now normalizing and setting standards that are aimed at executing its mandate efficiently to achieve the NDP target of creating 9.9 new jobs by 2030. I also want to thank all members of the Portfolio Committee, including the new Deputy Minister, Honorable November, for openly and honestly engaging the department in meetings and during oversight visits to ensure that both the committee and the department have a common understanding of felt needs of SMMEs and cooperatives, so that programs and services provided by the department are not based on perceived needs of government officials and influenced by service providers and consultants. The process of transforming the department from being a program of DTI to become an efficient standalone department cannot take forever. It has to be concluded at some point, Honorable Minister and DG, so that the department can move to the next stage of implementing especially the coordination role of the department which depends more on understanding and adherence of Intergovernmental Relations Framework Act. Participation of the department in the intergovernmental planning process of municipalities to ensure that transversal agreements signed with the departments and spheres of government are informed by the IDPs of the municipalities. That approach will assist in ensuring that projects funded by the Department of Small Businesses seek to advance local economic development plans of municipalities, the provincial growth strategies of provincial governments, and are based on the national spatial development perspective of each municipality and a feasibility study of each ward. These are fundamental government policies and processes that cannot be overlooked in positioning the Department of Small Business Development adequately for it to deliver on its mandate. Honorable Chairperson, the ANC in 1969, in the Morogoro Consultative Conference, resolved to transform the South African economy from a capitalist economy to a mixed economy driven by three spheres, by three pillars, which are state-owned enterprises with service delivery mandate, community-owned enterprises based on cooperatives in order to advance a people-driven and people-centered development, privately owned enterprises which are profit-driven. When the ANC assumed power in 1994, South Africa was then declared a mixed economy country. This meant that we needed to transform the economy from the hands of a few minority group of our population and practically implement Clause 3 of the Freedom Charter, which says, the people shall share in the country's wealth. The ANC has a mandate, as encapsulated in the 2014 elections manifesto, to provide extensive support to small businesses and cooperatives. The manifesto emphasizes the necessity to increase the already existing support measures and expand the number and viability of cooperatives and small businesses in order to achieve our development vision. The Portfolio Committee has also been dealing with the red tape bill proposed by Honorable Kruger. Although we are not debating that bill today, it is important to touch on the issue of red tape as a challenge that affects small businesses and cooperatives. The ANC perspective is that the issue of red tape needs to be addressed from an ideological perspective and in a context that reduces control of the economy by the monopoly capital. The ANC will elaborate on this when we present the report of the Portfolio Committee on the Red Tape Bill to Parliament in the near future. Our firm view is that the Department of Small Business in addressing red tape should focus more on radical economic transformation to reduce control of the economy by the monopoly capital, and to facilitate a situation where there will be less people who depend on social grant and government handouts for daily survival. The department should therefore speed up the process of addressing obstacles that prevent small businesses and cooperatives from realizing their potential. These include lack of coordination and alignment of support services by different departments to reduce duplication and unnecessary delays, lack of access to finance, lack of access to markets, lack of adequate training on technical and business skills management, lack of business support infrastructure, delays in payment on invoices, delays in issuing licenses and permits. Government, through medium-term strategic framework, articulates its policy on economic transformation, which is changing the structure and character of the economy, regulating monopoly capital, and bring about rapid, inclusive, and sustainable growth, high investment, increase in employment, reduced inequality, and de-racialization of the economy through multiple interventions. Importantly, the MSTF argues that in many cases, this does not require new strategies, but better implementation and coordination of the existing ones. Honorable Chairperson, His Excellency President Jacob Zuma in 2015 State of the Nation address pronounced that 30% of goods and services will be procured from small businesses and cooperatives by all government departments and state-owned companies. We commend this bold step in opening a sustainable market for small businesses and cooperatives. This policy will, however, remain a pie in the sky if the Department of Small Business does not pay attention to the issue of skills, of technical skills and business skills development. There is therefore a need for the department to prioritize sectors with the potential of creating more jobs in underdeveloped areas and to engage with the Department of Science and Technology, the Department of Higher Education and Training, and relevant SETAs to discuss how these three departments and SETAs would collaborate to address the challenge of skills. Oversight visits to KwaZulu-Natal, Eastern Cape, Gauteng, Limpopo, and Mpumalanga have revealed that the current farm interventions, especially for cooperatives, are not geared to enable small businesses and cooperatives to produce quality goods and services to take advantage of the existing market. Also, the quality of services provided by some service providers to cooperatives is an issue of concern that needs further investigation to prevent a situation where funds that are intended for development of small businesses and cooperatives end up enriching service providers. We will elaborate on this matter when we are given an opportunity to debate oversight reports. The ANC supports this budget. I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member Pengu. I will now call upon the Honorable Member RWT Chens.
House Chair, let me congratulate, first of all, and welcome our new Deputy Minister, Honourable November, to her position. We wish you well in your important position and new endeavours. It is now abundantly clear, 3 years after the department was formed, that 97% of businesses in South Africa have never contacted the department. Let me repeat that. The Department of Small Business Development is invisible to 97% of businesses in South Africa. How can I confidently make that assertion? Well, consider these facts. When you run a business, you go to the DTI to register it, SARS to get a tax number and a VAT number, the Department of Labour to register for UIF, and to join a sector bargaining council. You approach your local municipality to get the required permits, or any number of provincial boards to obtain further licenses. If you need some finance, chances are you will go to friends and family first, followed by your bank or a local moneylender if you're operating in the informal sector. To find customers, you will set up shop and advertise or knock on the door of government or business to give your orders. Where is the Department of Small Business Development to be seen in all this? It's nowhere to be seen. If you want a grant, a loan, or advice on how to run a business, you may be lucky to stumble on an office of CEDA or CIFA, both agencies of the department. But once you're there, you have to wade through a massive bureaucracy, even to get an interview. CEDA's pre-consultation checklist lists no fewer than 16 documents required to qualify for an interview. As a small business, you apply to DTI to get a BE rating, not Minister Zulu's department. Incredibly, neither CEDA nor CIFA have accredited BE status, which means businesses using their services do not get BE points. It seems the department is living in a different universe to the rest of us. To further emphasize this point, the 2017 Enterprise and Supplier Development Handbook does not once mention the department. The new SME fund set up by big business is bypassing the department and dealing directly with Treasury. And the 2017 GEM report referred to earlier, released this week, offers a dismal account of the department's role in stimulating small business. So to continue my tradition in budget speeches, I hereby declare that hitherto, and with deference to Marvel Comics, Minister Zulu shall now be named the Invisible Woman, aka the Invisible Minister. According to varying estimates, including Stats SA, the DTI and SARS, there are up to 3 million businesses operating in South Africa. Of these, 95% are SMMEs, the department's target market. What positive impact is the Invisible Minister Zulu and her department having on these businesses? By the department's own reckoning, it supported around 80,000 businesses in the last financial year. That's 3% of all businesses in South Africa. Yes, just 3%. Now you see why I mean invisible. Through the National Gazelles Program, the National Incubation Support Program, the CEDA Enterprise Incubation Program, the Cooperative Incentive Scheme, CIFA's direct and indirect loan schemes, and the department's other programs, it is barely visible to the massive majority of businesses. The department is too internally focused. It's conducting its third strategic review in as many years. Its top management is staffed by more acting than permanent positions, and this year it failed to spend 7% of its budget. And now Minister Zulu wants more money. To become more visible, Minister? So actually, what is the point of this department? What is its purpose, and how do we make it visible? The department's mandate is to create a conducive business environment for SMMEs as well as cooperatives. This means all, not just the tiny handful it's supporting directly. To make it visible, the DA would provide leadership to the entire entrepreneurial ecosystem in South Africa, which is sorely missing. This would start by leading a cabinet along a path of regulatory and labor reform to stimulate investment, growth, and job creation. It would mean cracking the nut of local economic development and directing resources there where it matters most. We would equip potential entrepreneurs with the attitude, skills, and resources to start and grow new businesses, then support them through extensive mentorship and market development programs. As renowned entrepreneur Vusi Tembekwayo said in a recent ETV interview, real transformation begins with the mind, not in government handouts. It requires a change of mindset, yes, Minister, not just of government, but within the people of our country, from one of dependency and limited horizons to one of growth, ambition, and excellence. This begins in school and early childhood and is nurtured in the first years of employment. Research has shown that getting into the jobs ladder and acquiring skills is the most important determinant of continuing in employment later on in life. It also increases the chances of someone starting a successful new business. To maximize this opportunity, we would channel resources and effort to cultivate a culture of entrepreneurship for the millions with little hope of finding employment. We would radically reform the Section 12J tax incentive to make it more attractive for angel investors to invest in startup businesses, particularly in townships. We would embark on a skills and learnership revolution to capacitate people with the will to start a business, but without the know-how to do so. And we would invest in infrastructure and support, such as Wi-Fi, free web, places to do business, and overcome the disadvantages so many of our citizens have when they start and run a business. Unfortunately, the ANC, the Portfolio Committee, has shown its colors and short-sightedness by declaring the DA's private members' bill on red tape undesirable. It has thus thrown away the first opportunity it had to make the department visible to all businesses, not just the pathetically small 3% it reached last year. The invisible Minister Zulu is now the champion of diverting...
Order, Honorable Member, in terms of Rule 82, we are expected to refer to members in respectful terms. So the invisible, it's not in line with the rules. You're supposed to refer to the member as Honorable
Yes,
Minister.
Chair,
The word invisible is derogatory.
I'm using a metaphor, Chairperson.
So I rule that, Honorable Member, you don't continue using that word.
Chairperson,
Point of order. You may come in. I recognize you.
Excuse me, you speak through the
Honorable
chairperson.
Member, you're supposed to talk to me.
So is she, chairperson.
Honorable Member, order.
Thank you. If I may, on a point
Honorable
of
member,
order.
you're on the, yes.
Thank you. I'd put it to you that debating whether the minister is visible or not is a point of debate. And the member is making a point about the work of the minister and the work of the department. He's entitled to make such a point.
Honorable member, your point of order is not sustainable. He is referring to the minister as the invisible minister.
Yes, Chairperson.
He actually
It's a debating
now
point.
on is going to call the minister the invisible minister. So, honorable members, I expect you to be obedient. Yes, you have to be obedient and you have to comply with the rules. So,
Chairperson.
honorable member,
Point of order.
honorable member,
Point
as
of
the
order,
as the
ma'am.
presiding officer, my rule is you don't continue calling the minister invisible minister, but you call the minister in a respectful
Ma'am,
way.
I have a point of order, if I may address you.
Honorable member, you may, yeah, you are recognized.
Madam House Chair, I draw your attention to Rule 63 of the rules, which provide that members of this House have got freedom of speech. I would further submit to you, Madam House Chair, that what the Honourable Chancellor said is not a contravention of the rules, and if you're going to sustain this ruling, I would like to request that this is referred to the Rules Committee for review, because the precedent that you're setting in this House by making this ruling, which is wrong, is going to dramatically inhibit the right of members to have political debates in this House, which is what we should be encouraging.
It is an innocuous adjective. Huh? Yeah.
Order, honorable members. Honorable members, indeed, in terms of the rules, you are supposed to conduct yourself in a manner that will uphold the decorum and the dignity of this House. So in my ruling, you said if I pursue, I really would like to pursue with this ruling, and then you can write to the Speaker and appeal on my ruling. The ruling is the minister is the honorable minister or Miss Zulu. That's what the rules are prescribing. Order. Order, honorable members. Order. The rules do advise on how you can respond to
No, but you
where
have to
you don't
remember,
agree
yeah.
with my ruling.
the-
But for
what
now,
the
my
House Chair
ruling,
is talking
I think, is
rubbish.
that we don't call the honorable minister the invisible minister. You can be shocked. The rules apply in this House. And all of us have got to comply with the rules. Order. Order, honorable members, you are being disrespectful, and I'll appreciate if you can go according to the rules. You are disrespectful to the rules.
Honorable House Chair, Honorable House Chair,
Honorable members,
Honorable House Chair.
I have referred you to Rule 82. You can refer to that rule. It says the House, in the House and in the mini plenary sessions, members must refer to one another in a respectful way. So that's what I have ruled on. Thank you very much. Honorable member, may you proceed.
Thank you, Chairperson. Thank you.
Honorable members, you are disorderly. Can you uphold the dignity of this House?
The Honourable. The
You know what to
inestimable.
do if you don't agree with my ruling, so let's allow the House to proceed. No, actually you are disrespectful. I don't have a problem. You can stand up but as long as it is in line with the rules.
Point of
I have no
order.
problem with it.
Order, Chairperson.
Okay, honorable members, shall we proceed? Shall we proceed? We're not going to be threatened with embarrassment.
Order, Chairperson.
Shall we proceed, and then we must observe the rules of this House? Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. The Chief Whip of the Opposition, can you please assist me in ensuring that we maintain order in this house.
Madam House Chairperson, I'm not going to help maintain order when you have no interest in applying the rules in a fair and transparent manner. You bring it upon yourself, you must reap what you sow.
Ordered, Honorable Chairperson.
Okay, Honorable Member,
Honorable
I
Stian
recognize you.
Hazen is in contempt of this house. And I'm requesting you to make a ruling on it. And when you make when you actually make a ruling, nobody must actually make a follow-up to your ruling according to the rules of Parliament.
Order. Order, honorable members. May we please proceed? I will then ask the honorable member to proceed.
Thank you, Chairperson. The honorable, the inestimable, the ineffable, the incorrigible, the incorruptible, the incompatible, Minister Zulu is now the champion of diverting 30% of public procurement towards CVs. While we agree that building public and private sector supply chains around small businesses makes sense to grow the economy, government must not repeat the error of BEE, which has favored only a small connected elite. Only a credible growth strategy will stave off a further ratings downgrade for South Africa. This growth strategy must put small business development at the heart of government policy, not at the fringes where it has minimal impact. Only the DA has the vision, programs and capacity to unlock the potential of our businesses and entrepreneurs.
Order.
To accelerate growth from the miserable 1% at present to the 5% needed to defeat unemployment and provide sustainable livelihoods to our millions of desperate people. I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member Chance. I will now call upon Honorable Member E.T. Mulauzi.
Murise mzulachidulo wo meposa na bahulise ibote ndi masiari. Lihoro ili la EFF liko tudzela kule mgaganya gwama hoyo wa muhasho hoyo ridotanda budzanga mandesa usiwana na na kuhumbulelo kwa phasi kwa mbuso wa ANC phasi ya Buzuma. Chairperson, there is no hope for any development of domestic productive industries in South Africa. That will happen now and in the near future. As long as anything that anyone, especially small business and co-op, want to produce can be imported from Asia, Europe, and other places for a lower prices, and the government does not impose any restriction, there is really no hope on development of productive industry, let alone small business and cooperative development. As long as South Africa continue to abide by the WTO agreements when the last 20 years have clearly demonstrated that it is not favorable to our borders. Cheap imports do not benefit anyone, they do not benefit the customer, they do not benefit the economy, and the impact in the long run is catastrophic. And the failure of the ANC to understand this simple logic clearly illustrate ideological bankruptcy. Va EFF musipa yidoba ko jana mubuso nga 2019 data stable in order to protect our borders. We will ensure that all retail, large or small, must source majority of the product from local producers. Small farmers must have a guarantee market to sell their produce with the state subsidies. Small textile producers must get state contracts to supply hospital, clinics, and prison with uniform and linen. Small electronic producers must produce microphones, projectors, and other products with state contracts. Small services companies should work hand in hand with the state-owned institution to play active role in the economy. But all this will only happen when our economic borders are protected. Honorable Chairperson, what makes the situation of this department even worse is that the department was created when there was no need for this department. Remember, this department was just a branch at the DTI and the Economic Development Department. It is, for years now, we are still on the process of establishing this department from 2014. Ngauri, department chitiwa, yetiwa, uchikitwa ngori, vone vane president wa Zimbabwe gori, bape magavele, batwane, baba ruba, bane ba wera, pasi ya ruba habo. There is no strategy in this department in terms of the functions that related to the small business and cooperative development. Remember, most of these departments, they are dealing with this cooperative and small business in a silo mentality. Instead of the budget of this department, the big chunk of the budget was allocated to the program 1 for administration in order to pay salaries, sacrificing program 2 for the small business and cooperative research and policy. We are still not sure about the CIFA and the CIDA. What are they doing? Because they are busy in manufacturing intermediaries to charge the people or the small business and cooperative between 40% and 110% to assist them. So the other thing, this budget, when it was allocated by the Treasury this year, by the former Minister of Finance, we were all not happy, even you ministers and the Portfolio Committee, because this budget was based on the over a mid-term for 2020. The increment of 7.1%
1 minute
per annum
left to round up.
doesn't assist the poor people, because there's no radical in this budget. Remember, this department was made in order to transform the economy from the black poor people, but however, it's not assisting. There is no land even in the strategy of the department to allocate to the small business people and cooperative. CIDA and CIFA must be joined together and have be one entity instead of wasting money of 2 entities. We also have the problem of mortality rate of the cooperatives. At 85%, there is no decline of the mortality rate of the cooperatives. So there is also the office of the LEDs in the municipalities, which the department is not using that function of the LED in order to facilitate the improvement of the small business and development of the cooperatives. Only 3%.
Thank you very much,
for now.
Honorable Lauch. Your
Only
time has
3%
expired.
for now is only the transversal agreement has been made. The EFF proudly reject this budget.
No, thank you very much. The next speaker is Honorable S.J. Nkomo. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. This department's delivery on its mandate is key to reigniting economic growth, lowering inequality and alleviating poverty and reducing unemployment. A culture of entrepreneurship must be cultivated, as through its multiplier effect, we should be able to create employment for our full labor force. The government party's policy of radical economic transformation, which is the main buzzword that we seem to be hearing about, must begin here. This department carries with it the seed for all future socio-economic growth in South Africa. Small business and cooperatives must become the order of the day. Barriers to entry for entrepreneurs must be reduced. Finance should be easily accessible, and the cost of finance should not be a hindrance. Packages should be tailored to the circumstances around each entrant or around each entrance into the market. The regulatory environment cannot be over-burdensome, and prohibited regulations must be clear, concise, and absolutely necessary. Otherwise, they should not actually be there. The IFP remains a staunch believer in limited government and minimum state intervention, especially in business and the marketplace. Honorable Chair, the assistance of the private sector
through private and public partnerships cannot be overstated. It is one of the major keys to the successful completion of the mandate of this department. The department, although independent in its own right, must work together with other entities such as the local economic development offices in districts and local municipalities, because cooperatives have sufficient geographical locations, and these are situated in particular wards which fall under particular municipalities. The current departmental tendency towards isolationism can only negatively affect its state's aims and should not be encouraged by the ministry. Chairperson, the overuse of consultants remains a problem, and this department should actually look into the issue of the overuse of consultants, which is a problem. The department should embark on a skills needs analysis and staff itself accordingly with the human resource it requires. This department, again, has a great deal of responsibility resting on its shoulders. It will play a definite role in contributing to the NDP's goal in the creation of 11 million jobs by 2013. To achieve this, it will have to roll up its sleeves and get to work. We believe this can be done in a better way. The IFP supports this budget. I thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Gomo. The next speaker is Honorable Mwabe of the NFP.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson, Honorable Members, Minister, Deputy Minister, distinguished guests in the gallery. Chairperson, the stated vision of the Department of Small Business Development is a radical transformation of our economy through integrated and effective enterprise development and entrepreneurship promotion. We trust that the practicality of the term radical economic transformation will be seen in this department because it is charged with the creation of millions of job opportunities through growth and development of small businesses and cooperatives by the year 2030. However, we are left with only 13 years to 2030, Chair, but the number of unemployed people keeps on rising, as does the almost 17 million people relying on social grants. Figures such as these show us the enormous task that this department must perform, and as an NFP, we believe that the National Treasury must prioritize the Small Business Development Department in terms of future budget increases. It is our view, Chairperson, that the department should operate on the basis of touching people, changing lives slogan, because that is essentially the goal with which the department was formed in the first place. Apportioning the relatively modest budget of 1.3 billion for the current fiscal year across 3 programs gives us an indication of the priorities in the department spending projections. While the NFP accepts the need to allocate the bulk of the budget to programs advancing designs and support for small businesses and cooperatives, we are concerned about the increase in the administration program. The NFP concurs with the observation and recommendations of the Portfolio Committee, and this recommendation addresses very important structural defects and organizational flaws within the department. Implementation of this recommendation will assist the department in focusing its mandate, build the organizational capacity, and streamline its operational management. South Africa is in dire need of economic revival, and the NFP believes that a strong and vibrant small business sector is a key component that must be taken into consideration in any strategic government intervention. The responsibility for making this happen lies with the Department of Small Businesses and Cooperative Department. And it is therefore imperative that the department consolidate its operational mandate and accelerate its process to deliver on its mandate. The NFP supports this budget. Sithi imali ayihambi yothuthukisa abantu, so besiqaphe ngosolokhozi ukuthi ayintshontshwa na. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next speaker is the Deputy Minister. Over to you, Deputy Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Honorable Chairperson, Minister Zulu, ministers and deputy ministers that are in here. Director General Edith Fries, SIFA and senior chairpersons, board members and CEOs. Ladies and gentlemen, the establishment of the ministry of small business development remains one of the most pragmatic interventions since the dawn of democracy. Our economy and despair whilst propelling our township, rural, and peri-urban areas to the mainstream economy. Radical economic transformation is here, and it is here to lead to here and alive. Ndifuna ukuthi ke kwabo abazimfama mabahambe bajonge eBhayibhelini. Kuba indoda yayimfama yahamba echibini lesilowa ngokomyalelo kaYesu. Owokuba yovula amehlo ayo ade avuleke. Believe you me when I say I am convinced that if we are radical enough, the triple challenges of poverty, unemployment, and inequality that have given us sleepless nights for ages would be reduced to significant low proportions even before 2030. I know so because I have just joined a very progressive ministry fighting for inclusion of our people in the economy. Many had lost hope. Many had no aspirations to even start. And today, I can assure South Africans that under the outstanding leadership of Minister Zulu, the ministry is fast turning to the corner to develop and promote small enterprise cooperatives with result unemployment and economic development. I am privileged to be part of this paradigm shift that seeks to empower our people by providing realistic opportunities for small businesses and cooperatives. We have already done so much in providing financial and non-financial support to both SMMEs and cooperatives. Although I have been part of the ministry for merely a month, I'm taking the baton from a committed and a very competent comrade Elizabeth Tabate, my predecessor, who has indeed laid the foundation for me, and my task would have been very much more difficult without the support experience in our encounter from the days of the portfolio committee member of small business. I know that I I used to hold them accountable, and now tables have turned. They are holding me accountant. Chairperson, the minister has alluded to the financial support towards supporting cooperatives and small businesses. But I must mention that through our stakeholder engagements, it has become abundantly clear that the support towards the cooperatives lag behind that which is provided to SMEs and SMMEs, and it is for this reason that we have begun to relook in the existing cooperatives, the existing cooperative models, with a particular focus on the manner in which we provide support to cooperatives, both financial and non-financial. It is therefore a response to the needs of the people, but urgently have to provide comprehensive support that will ensure that our cooperatives are sustainable and profitable in pursuit of radical economic transformation agenda. Stats have been quoted demonstrating the capacity of cooperatives across the globe, but very few have successfully shown improvement here at home. The question is why? Why is it that that the only cooperatives that are successful today are those ones that were funded by the pre-democracy? Why is it? What did the previous government do differently? These are the questions that we should be boldly and ask in order to streamline our support with a sole purpose to demonstrate the potential that cooperatives have. Daar is talle navorsings en statistieke beskikbaar wat sukses is. Van coöperatiewe wêreldwyd bevestig is maar die teenoorgestelde, is die plaaslike werklikheid. Die vraag is, hoekom? Hoekom is dit dan slegs die coöperatiewe wat befonds was voor demokrasie, die enigste al is wat vandag nog suksesvol is? Wat is dit wat die apartheidstaat verskillend gedoen het? Hierdie is die vraag wat ons prontuit moet vra en beantwoord. Dit is eers wanneer ons hierdie antwoorde het en verstaan dat ons die oplossing kan skep vir die vooruitstrevendheid. Having said that, Chairperson, we continue to do everything in our collective power to ensure cooperatives grow and thrive. During the last financial year, 342 cooperatives were trained in cooperative governance, management, bookkeeping, and quality management system covering all 9 provinces.
A minute left, Deputy Minister.
Chairperson.
The ANC supports the budget.
Chairperson, on a point of order, now that the Minister seems to be winding up, would the Minister care to take a question?
Sit down.
Moti besig wees om my tyd te eet. Ek het nie daarvoor tyd nie.
Honourable Deputy Minister, are you prepared to take a question?
No, Chairperson. Eers as ek klaar is.
Yeah.
Conclude, Deputy Minister.
Last year, we made an undertaking to establish Cooperative Development Agency which would
Yeah, okay.
provide financial and non-financial support service to cooperative enterprises in South Africa. We were unable to achieve this goal due to budgetary constraints. I wish to assure honorable members that the process remains firmly on track. The process of establishing the agency will be accelerated as soon as Cooperative Development Amendment Act 2014 is proclaimed. We are also embarking on a process to review the cooperative strategy with the view to formulate an integrated cooperative strategy development model geared to promote the growth and development of cooperatives on a sustainable basis and drastically reduce the mortality rate of cooperatives.
Your time has expired, Honorable Deputy Minister.
Thank you, Chair, and the
Thank you
ANC
very much.
supports the budget.
Order. The next speaker is Honorable S.P. Begwa.
Thanks, House Chair, Honorable Minister Lindiwe Zulu Makeba, Deputy Minister Mama Unomathemba November, Honorable Chairperson of the Portfolio Committee Mama Weti Urut Pengu Nolos, Honorable Members Nendwende zethu kwigarari siyanibulisa. I'm honored to stand before you and wish to thank you for this debate on vote 31. Firstly, House Chair, allow me to firstly take this opportunity ngibongele umama November for her recent appointment as the new Deputy Minister of Department. Ngithi kuwe mama unwelo olude. African National Congress-led government remain resolute and continue to uphold the commitment made to our people during the African National Congress 52nd National Conference in Polokwane, where we outline an economy vision that is premised on the Freedom Charter's call that the people shall share in South Africans' wealth. And again, the 53rd National Conference in Mangaung, where we took a groundbreaking resolution by affirming the National Development Plan as the country blueprint for the socio-economic development. We therefore wish to remind millions of our South Africans who overwhelmingly voted for us that we have no appetite of backtracking, nor betraying the mandate and the trust that the people of this country have conferred upon us. ANC Yakuba, yes, we are moving. We are not flawless. Listen, we are not flawless, but we are mindful of the pits calculatingly put before us by the saboteurs. However, as Conrad Hall reminds us, open quote, you are always a student, never a master. You have to keep on moving forward, close quote. South African small, micro, and medium enterprises and cooperative sector continue to register a positive growth in terms of employment, economic growth, and reduction of inequalities, notwithstanding countless hurdles which many instances have tended to strangle the sector's true potential. Estimates of the sector contribution to the overall economy are fairly substantial. Small businesses as an economy sector currently contribute in the region of 35% to the gross domestic product, the GDP, and 54% to the formal private sector employment. Given the statistics, this gives one an opportunity that, indication that the SMMEs and cooperative sector play a pivotal role in resolving the country's development challenges, such as employment and economic growth. However, compared with many others emerging economies, its contribute to employment and economic growth is below average. This is relatively low performance that can be attributed to the racial distortions in education, income and economic disparities inherited by the old order. It is in this context that we, ever since coming to power, the ANC-led government has prioritized entrepreneurship and advancement of SMMEs and cooperatives as the catalyst to achieving economic growth and employment. The ANC government is awake to the reality that small businesses and cooperatives in the cooperative sector is a critical form part of a backbone of a thriving society and building blocks in an inclusive economy. Why agricultural project? The Portfolio Committee has also made successful recommendations to the department to identify key economic sectors of interest to survivalists, small, micro, medium, and cooperative enterprises in order to develop targeted strategies. Agriculture is one of the most important economic sectors, not just in the province of KwaZulu-Natal, but throughout the country. It is a major economic and a social driver that provides livelihood for millions of households, from the subsistence farmers to cooperatives and large commercial concerns. Also, according to a company's Intellectual Property Commission, CIP data, more than 80% of the registered cooperatives are agricultural cooperatives and find mostly in rural areas. The potential to increase agricultural product level is very high, especially if the power of small businesses, scale farmers can be harnessed. In thus forms the pillar of socio-economic development in South Africa. Presently, the majority of population in KZN live in rural areas where the standard of living is low. The dualistic nature of the sector where, on one hand, there is a well-developed commercial and a poorly undeveloped sector, of which the majority are African women in rural areas who mainly practice subsistence farming, is an anomaly that is of our serious concern to the committee, and it cannot be allowed to continue. The KZN is a South African-based watered province. It has a large area of high-quality agricultural land than any other province, and the national leader in several agricultural products. Regrettable, the province is still a net importer of agricultural produce, so is in the country. In line with this trust, the identification of crops and the creation of upstream opportunities for small business in agro-industrial, in line with the country's agri-park strategy, is almost importance. It is therefore imperative to consider agriculture, in particular those projects, not just as farming alone, but a holistic value chain which includes farming, wholesaling, warehousing, including logistics, processing and retailing. Abalimi agricultural cooperatives projects are being piloted in province of KwaZulu-Natal to hopefully to serve as a yardstick to measure failure or success of the CIS program. In overcoming market failures, to pilot the cooperative-based community development model and the COA Holdings agricultural farming model. It's worth mentioning that in all 12 cooperatives currently being piloted, there is one common vulnerability. That is the lack of support and infrastructure, in which many instances has brought many of these projects to a halt. The requirement for the development of agriculture infrastructure in order to grow the economy of a sample municipalities in according to the targets set out in the Integrated Development Plan. A provincial growth development strategy and an NDP is urgent. Graduating from phase 1 to phase 4 cooperative-based economic development model by quarters require setting up their inter-alia storage facilities, pack houses, processing facilities, and distributing centers to these farms.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member. Your time has expired.
Thank you, House Chair. The ANC support the budget vote of the department. I thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. The next speaker is Honorable NLS Nkwankwa.
Thank you very much. Chair and honorable members, with the unprecedented rate of urbanization in South Africa and the increasing failure of the rural and urban formal sectors to absorb the labor force, the promotion of small business development as a panacea for a chronic unemployment problem is critical. This is because small businesses play, as you know, an important role in ensuring inclusive growth and job creation for, in particular, the youth and women, despite decades of neglect and the fact that the sector was treated with outright hostility in the past. In considering resource allocation to this important sector, we should ask ourselves a critical question. That is, whether we consider the small business sector as merely a transitional phase that serves as a holding ground for those awaiting entry into the formal sector, or whether it should be promoted as a major source of inclusive growth, job creation, and income for our people. Clearly, the former option is counterproductive, but it is easy to fall into this trap if we do not approach small business development with a clear end goal in mind. The latter option of promoting small business development as a strategy for inclusive growth and job creation requires that we put our money where our mouth is. I put it to you that the billion rands that is allocated to this department annually is hopelessly inadequate for the needs of this sector. It is even more so when you consider that a large bulk of these resources are often allocated to agencies. However, considering the inefficiency of government departments, it would be a mistake to give them a blank check and say you increase resources without considering measures or implementing measures to improve efficiency in the current system of governance. Worst of all, these agencies such as SEDA and SIFA give out loans to small businesses which are in turn rendered unable to pay their loans by the same government due to its failure to pay them on time. This leads me to my next question. Minister, what is the progress of the unit that was set up in 2015 in the Department of Monitoring and Evaluation to investigate cases of late or non-payment? Colleagues, it is of great concern that for more than 3 years since this department was established, it is still grappling with crippling overlaps and duplication of its functions between it, the DTI, and economic development, as already pointed out in the committee's report. This duplication also extends to its enterprise incubator program and the DTI's incubator support program. The UGM proposes that urgent steps must be taken to address this confusion with a view to simplify government support architecture for small businesses. In addition, our incubation programs must adopt systems and tools for monitoring the measurement of their impact. It is disappointing to see that the issue of financial intermediaries that charge small businesses exorbitant interest rates on loans is still unresolved more than 5 years after we first raised it in the Portfolio Committee of Economic Development in 2013. While talking about interest rates, we should take a leaf out of the book of some of the BRICS partners, such as Brazil and India, with whom we share similar development challenges. About 5 years ago, Brazil adopted SMME-friendly policies by actively reducing interest rates on public loans to SMMEs. We should do this as an incentive for good-performing SMME loans. As a way of addressing seed capital access for small businesses, India sets a target for bank lending to SMMEs, and they make it a big deal if a bank fails to meet its disbursal target to SMMEs. South Africa must also follow suit and learn from these examples. The United Democratic Movement supports Budget Vote 31. But before I sit down, I've noticed one thing, Uguti. I think I should be a member of the executive because I think their minute is actually 120 seconds long rather than the normal 60 seconds.
No, thank you very much. Your time has
expired.
expired. No, thanks very much. The next speaker is Honorable Reverend Michu.
House Chairperson, firstly, congratulations to Honorable November for a new appointment. In May last year, the Statistician General of Stats South Africa, Palile Hotla, announced that unemployment in our country had substantially increased to 26.7% in the first quarter of 2016, compared to the fourth quarter of 2015, and said that South Africa was not doing enough to create jobs. He further said that there was no indication of a turning point. However, the results he released earlier this year indicated that although the official unemployment rate declined by 0.6% quarter to quarter to 26.5%, it was still 2% points higher compared to the same period last year. The ACDP believes that government must do more to create a climate that is conducive for job creation. We further believe that small businesses is a catalyst for economic growth and should play a far more significant role in job creation and poverty alleviation. While we fully support the National Development Plan that envisages that the small business sector will create 90% of the projected 11 million jobs by 2030, doubts are now beginning to emerge as we hear and see how corruption is entrenched in both the private and public sector. The ACDP is very concerned about the minimal impact that the Department of Small Business Development and Cooperatives currently has on developing and assisting struggling small businesses. Excessive red tape and insufficient information about the process of registering a business are still major concerns. In March this year, the Portfolio Committee on Small Business Development undertook an oversight visit to Mpumalanga. As we interacted with members of some cooperatives, we got a better understanding of why cooperatives have a high failure rate of 88%. Many of the poor people in rural areas who want to run successful businesses and cooperatives are not receiving the help, guidance, and mentoring they need. A lot of fiscal dumping seems to be occurring with these cooperatives. We are also alarmed to discover what appears to be some cases of fraud, which the committee found unacceptable. By way of the example, I'm going to quote from the committee report of our visit to Mpumalanga. Open quote. During the Portfolio Committee interactions with SIFA, Super Grant, represented by Mr. Sibusiso Mabuza, and members of the cooperative in Mokwane, committee members were informed that SIFA and Super Grant met in 2013, and SIFA funded the 4 cooperatives in 2015. Yet 2 of the 4 cooperatives, Itzakile Agricultural Primary Cooperative Limited and Zebere Mpempe Farming and Projects Primary Cooperative Limited, were only registered in 2016. The latter being a conversion of a closed corporation into a cooperative. As things are, there is therefore a potential scenario where the funding approval might have preceded cooperatives in cooperation. Once more, at the time of analyzing the oversight report, this obfuscation had not been made clear by either party. It is unclear if 2016 SIFA annual report assertion that these projects have proved to be very successful, a reference to the 4 cooperatives under observation, was a deliberate attempt to misform SIFA stakeholders, most importantly the shareholders and Parliament, as some of the developments discovered by the Portfolio Committee on just this project alone indicate quite the opposite.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Your time has expired. Can we?
Was it 4 minutes?
Yes, it was 4 minutes.
Yeah.
The next speaker is Honorable N. Mtembo.
Chairperson, mangibonge ithuba ngibingelele bonke abalapha kulendlu nalaba abasivakashele. Ngibingelele ophathiswe iDepartment umama uLindiwe Zulu kanye nabambisene naye futhi ngimbongisa ngokuba aqoke ukuba abe uDeputy Minister we Small Business Development kanye nosihlalo uMambhengu kanye namalunga ekomiti. Ngibingelela sihlalo wePortfolio Committee in supporting the budget. Ngibingelela omama amakhosikazi avuka ekseni ngovivi ngisho isimo sezulu singesihle. Omama abancamela amakhaza nezimvula ukuze izingane zabo zilale zidlile nokuthi futhi ziye ezikoleni. Ngingabashiyi nobaba nabo abadayisa emigwaqeni kungelula inqobo nje uma izingane zabo zibe nekusasa elihle neliqhakazile. Nolusha lwethu olunye lwabo olubuya ezikolweni zemfundo ephakeme kepha ngenxa yokwentuleka kwemisebenzi abazange bagoqa izandla nabo ubathola bedayisa emigwaqeni nabanye belungisa izinwele zabantu emigwaqeni. Amasaluni asemgwaqeni ke lawo. Sihlalo laba abadayisi basemgwaqeni abanganakekelekile kahle esifisa ukuthi njengenhlangano ka-African National Congress ukuba kuhlangatshezwe nezidingo zabo. Ngoba lokhu abakwenzayo kuhle kakhulu kubaleke kuyinto nje kungabonakala kuyinto nje mhlawumbe yokususa ikati eziko noma mhlawumbe into nje yesikhashana. Likhulu ichaza kanye nendima labo somabhizinisi abadlalayo ekuthuthukiseni imiphakathi yethu ngokwezemnotho phecelezi community economic development. Babuye futhi bahlangabezane nohulumeni oholwa inhlangano kaKhongolose ngokusabela kwikhwele ngokwemanifesto ka-2014 sisonke siyisa iningizimu Afrika phambili. Together we move South Africa forward. Lezi zakhamuzi ezingakhononti zikhale kuhle kwengane eyintandane yona engenathemba ngekusasa. Yebo liphezulu kakhulu izinga lokwentuleka kwemisebenzi kodwa bona abagoqile izandla nokuthi futhi babike imbiba babike ibuzi. Ubathola emevalendini ezitolo phecelezi the formal businesses kanye nasoncemeni lwemigwaqo nalapho imigwaqo iphambana khona. Izimo abasebenza ngaphansi kwazo zinobungozi kakhulu futhi nezimpilo zabo azisengcupheni enkulu. Izigebengu ziye zizenzele kulabo dadwethu nabafowethu ngokubabamba inkunzi ekanti futhi nangokwezempilo abaphephile bavulelekile kakhulu ukuba bathole izifo ngenxa yentuthu yezimoto kanye nezintuli. Imikhiqizo yabo nayo iyathinteka ngoba uma bedayisa ukudla ezindaweni ezinezintuli nako ukuthola lezi zintuli. Sihlalo kunonkosikazi engithanda ukuba ngisho ukuthi nokuba ngicaphune yena yedwa baningi abafana naye umehluko abenza umehluko ezimpelweni zabantu kanye nasesizweni sethu sonkana. Umama uDoli Cindi onamantombazana amahlanu angama graduates namhlanje futhi ayasebenza. Umama uDoli usesebenze a street vendor for more than 20 years edayisa eStandard taxi rank. Namuhla ungumgqugquzeli wama Stockfields ase Standerton kanye naseThuthukani. Mama umsebenzi wakho uyancomeka ngoba ubuye ulekelele nezingane eziningi emphakathini. Singu African National Congress sicela ukuba iDepartment yakwa Small Development ibambisane nalobo somabhizinisi ngokuthi nane private sector ukuthi ibalekelele labantu ngokubanikeza izinsiza abazidingayo. Sibacelela izinsiza ezifana namagazibo ngoba laba bantu lokho abakwenzayo basabelile kuleli khwelo leli namanje noma sikhuluma njenge African National Congress sikhuluma nge-radical economic transformation. Chairperson, it is important to understand the history and the context of hawking in South Africa, as well as the factors that have influenced its survival popularity. During the apartheid era, the South African government tried to stop trading activity. Traders resorted to trading portable goods and conducting businesses from unobtrusive spaces to avoid conflict with the law. Although many campaigns were launched between the 1950s and 1980s to rid cities of the street vendors, informal trading persisted. Subsequent to this, the Business Act of 1991 allowed hawkers to trade freely without licenses, which led to a rapid increase in the number of street vendors. The lifting of restrictions on hawking coincided with the retrenchment of many workers in the formal economy, thus leading to a massive growth in street trade activity. Many survivalist traders resorted to trading out of desperation rather than choice. Around 1997, South Africa faced an economic crisis where large corporate and retailers were retrenching, downsizing, downscaling, and closing down. Amidst this, small business owners, entrepreneurs, and street vendors in the informal sector continued to contribute to greater economy. Subsequently, there was a growing recognition of the potential role that street vending can play in terms of job creation and poverty alleviation. It is important to note that urbanization, migration, and economic development have led to an increase in the number of street vendors in Africa's cities. Street vendors face a number of difficulties outside their control. This includes conflict with police, customers and fellow traders, poor integration into urban planning, competition for similar goods, negative public attitudes, and daily physical obstruction. Chairperson, in South Africa, the street vendors are doing a tremendous work, and they are to be commended and appreciated for such. The contribution that the street vendors are making towards the development of the country might not be realized, but they are immense. These traders contribute about 7% to the national gross domestic product, GDP, in South Africa, and generate about 22% of the total employment in the country. They not only contribute to the country's GDP, but they work hard and produce academics and professionals that are needed by the country and this democracy. There are men and women out of this activity that have built their homes, took children to schools, and also to the institutions of higher learning. Sihlalo, in supporting the budget vote, I would like to plead with the Department of Small Business Development to find an innovative creative way in assisting our people in the street vendors who have come up with the initiative that not only assisting them, but the government is also benefiting from it. Municipal bylaws are to be looked at that they do not make these traders feel that the government does not have their interest at heart, while the Business Act sets the national legislative framework the bylaws governing street traders are drawn up by local government structures. Some municipalities are trying to override the national framework with the more restrictive rules for street traders. The national policies embrace openness and inclusivity of this time in history. Municipal structures, as a new of them, are having to implement them in the face of rising antipathy from their own officials and from formal businesses. This would seem to present a real window of opportunity for negotiation between street traders and local governments. Ngiyabonga, the ANC supports the budget.
Order. The next speaker is Honorable Kruger.
Geachte huisvoorsitter, die ANC is praat sonder daad politieke party. Ja, praat sonder daad. Die komiteevoorsitter van Kleinsake Ontwikkeling het op die 3de Mei 2017 die mandaat van die Departement van Kleinsake Ontwikkeling aan die komitee verduidelik. Volgens haar sluit die mandaat die volgende in: om toegang vir almal tot die ekonomie en die welvaart van Suid-Afrika te verseker. Die departement is verantwoordelik vir 90% van die skepping vir volhoubare 11 miljoen werksgeleenthede wat teen 2030 geskep moet word. En 3, die vermindering van hoë regulatoriese nakoming wat op die kleinsake van toepassing is. Dit is duidelik dat die ANC tot dusver gefaal het in hierdie mandaat. Die ANC praat sonder daad. Gun my asseblief die geleentheid om die afgelope 3 jaar se vordering van die ANC-regering in hierdie verband te skets. 88% van alle nuwe korporasies wat gestig is met die hulp van die departement en of sy agentskappe, SIDA en SIFA, het tragies misluk, ten koste van miljoene rande vir die rekening van die belastingbetaler. Voorsitter, die vermoede bestaan dat min lede van hierdie korporasies word ooit opgevolg of opgespoor. Op 'n vraag aan die minister deur agbare Chance in verband met die bydrae van korporasies tot die nasionale bruto binnelandse produk, was haar antwoord 0,12%. Weglaatbaar klein. Maar tog verkies die ANC om aanhoudend hul hoop op die huidige strategie te plaas. SIDA en SIFA is klein sake se hoop tot ontwikkeling en finansiering. Maar hulle beplan nie naaste by genoeg aktiwiteite vir die 2017-18 finansiële jaar om enigstens vordering te maak in werkskeping nie. SIDA beplan om R757 miljoen te spandeer op kleinsakeontwikkeling gedurende hierdie tydperk, wat gelyk is aan 'n baie klein munisipaliteitse begroting. SIFA, aan die ander kant, beplan deur middel van hulle ingryping om 59,000 werksgeleenthede te skep. Duidelik agbare voorsitter, is daar nie 'n daadwerklike politiese wil om genoegsame werksgeleenthede teen 2030 te skep nie. Die ANC praat sonder daad. Voorsitter, die derde mandaat van die departement, volgens die komiteevoorsitter, is die vermindering van regulatoriese romslomp wat klein sake nie halter. Net meer as 'n week gelede het die komitee die geleentheid gehad om 'n wetsontwerp wat romslomp sou verminder, goed te keur. Helaas, die ANC het 'n politieke besluit geneem om nie hierdie weg te volg nie. Die ANC praat sonder daad. Die Red Tape Impact Assessment Bill sou vir die ANC-regering 'n geleentheid gebied het om te wys dat hulle ernstig is om werk te skep, armoede te verminder en inklusiewe toegang vir almal tot die ekonomie te verseker. Met die afkeuring van hierdie wetsontwerp het die ANC 'n geleentheid om die speelvelde vir klein sake meer gelyk te maak laat verbygaan. En as ware verseker dat hindernisse soos romslomp sal aanhou om ekonomiese groei en werkskeping te rem. Navorsing het bewys dat romslomp tot 10% wegvreet in die daaglikse omset van kruidenierswarewinkels. Tot soveel as R30 per kop word aan romslomp gespandeer vir 'n troue. En dit kos die restauranteienaar 5% ekstra om vir jou gunsteling ete op te dis. Elke sent wat romslomp besigheid ekstra kos, as gevolg van 'n regering wat nie omgee nie, maak die entrepreneur mismoedig en is opgee in baie gevalle die enigste uitkoms. Hierdie onnodige uitgawes vir klein sake kan eerder tot werkskeping aangewend word. Die DA is die enigste party wat poog om 'n vriendelike omgewing vir kleinskaalke onderneming en koöperasies te skep, wat die sukses van klein sake sal vergemaklik. In die Wes-Kaap, waar die DA regeer, het soortgelyke beleid, soos vervat in die Red Tape Impact Assessment Bill, reeds 85% van 6,000 romslomsake opgelos. Now, that's a good story to tell. Geagte voorsitter, kleinsakegemeenskappe kan geleentheid en werkskeping vir almal teweegbring in Suid-Afrika. In 2019 sal die DA regeer en dan sal die DA doen die daad wat hy praat. Baie dankie.
Thank you, Honorable HCC Kruger. I will now call upon Honorable Member N. Tsapa.
Honorable Chair, Honorable Chairperson, Honorable Minister and all ministers present and Deputy Ministers present, the business people and community, Honorable Members of Parliament and especially members of our Portfolio Committee, members of the department and the entities, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Let me first join my comrades in the call by the African National Congress to support this budget. As tabled by Honorable Minister Zulu. The fortunate part in your budget, or Minister, in your department, is that it was not created out of a dream. It was created out of necessity. It is a historically determined initiative, an SDI, if you like. I'm surprised that the Honorable Chance does not understand why the department is, but fortunately, there's Honorable Mrauds who, after explaining why the department is not necessary, at the end he gives reasons why there should be this department. That was great. This is determined, this also is demonstrated by our common approach and understanding in the committee, which unfortunately is not a requirement for this debate, but we do have common approach and understanding in the committee. This budget vote is the commitment of the ANC to radical economic transformation, for job creation, poverty eradication,
Order.
and the adequate support of SMMEs and cooperatives by government and established business will enable SMMEs and cooperatives to effectively participate in the mainstream economy. Small and medium enterprises and cooperatives have a potential of creating jobs, especially amongst the youth. The best way to take investment opportunities to the poor people is to support the SMMEs and cooperatives among those communities. Honorable Mlauds, when you said the department was not necessary, and I can assure you the gallery did not believe you. No one could believe that. That department was never necessary. Once MMEs and cooperatives thrive, large firms such as banks begin to open services, and economic activity becomes active amongst the communities. Honorable Chair, the content of this department is business. Yes, and not the smallness. Honorable PJ will be worried if you emphasize on the form and not the content. The content is business and the form is only the smallness, which should not be our problem. Honorable Chairperson, through this department, this department is to address this radical economic transformation is addressing the evils of the past. Something which they always don't want us to talk about it. Unfortunately, we have to. The evil that, in the word of Shakespeare, the evil that men do live after them. Honorable Chairperson, the small business development, the government is determined to change the lives of the huge sections of our community. Those who strive for a living, those who have their activities not as the objective of making capital and profit, but to change lives. The history has taught us that you can only do this by changing the patterns of ownership. Honorable Chairperson and honorable members, it is a fact that small businesses are a phenomenon that you find everywhere, be it in the township, every street, in the rural areas, be it in the fisheries. That is the life of the major part of our communities. Therefore, it should be supported. We must continue to encourage creation of new businesses and cooperatives by reducing the cost of compliance and make sure that it is not difficult to make business. Honorable Chair, I'm worried about the idea of the people who do not believe that the small business department is the one which is going to change the lives of the people of our society. Honorable Chance is defying his own understanding because he has established and explained the needs of his people. But for this house, for the purpose of this house, is something different. Honorable members, honorable Chair.
Madam Chair.
For the purpose of the developing of our people.
Honorable member, may you take your seat? I recognize you, honorable member.
Sihlalo ngicela ukubuza noma umhlonishwa ungathatha umbuzo omncane nje.
Order, order. Order, honorable members. Honorable members, order. Sir, will you take the question, honorable member?
I will only take points of clarity from my right.
So the honorable member won't take a question.
Once,
We proceed.
once these SMMEs and cooperatives thrive, the large firms such as banks begin to thrive in in the community, and therefore there will be economic activity. For this reason, it is clear that this committee, when we decide and recommend that we suggest this budget, it is in the interest of our people. Therefore, Chair, Honorable Chair, we recommend that this budget is in the interest of the people who are engaged in small business development in our country. I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member Kapa. I will now call upon the Honorable Minister of Small Business Development.
Thank you very much.
Chairperson,
Okay,
before-
honorable members, if I may come in, I would like to address the members in the gallery. In terms of the rules, you are not supposed to participate. You are here to observe. Thank you very much. I'll appreciate if you can cooperate with us. Thank you. Honorable member, were you up? Okay, thank you. All right, you may proceed.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. I do believe that the work that has been done
Order.
throughout the years that we have formed and the support that we also received from the Portfolio Committee itself and the members is highly appreciated. So, Chairperson, I presented the budget vote 31 on small business development 2017-2018. And I would like, Chairperson, to also take this opportunity to further clarify, especially after the questions that were raised by some members about the allocation of the budget. Transfers and subsidies take up to 84.8 or 1.24 billion of the allocated 1.46 billion. CEDA is allocated 51.9% or 743.1 million rands, while the remaining 32% is or 484.6 million is administered through the following grants, which are very important for small and medium enterprises. Black Business Supplier Development Program is allocated 256.8 million. Cooperatives Incentive Scheme is allocated 78.7 million. Enterprise Incubation Program is allocated 49.7 million. And the National Informal Business Upliftment Scheme is allocated 99.4 million for the current financial year. Compensation, honorable members, because I think that Honorable Nkomo did refer to this. Compensation of our employees is allocated 9.5 or 139 million. Goods and services are allocated 5.5 or 80.1 million, while capital assets are allocated 0.2 or 2.6 million. CFA's total budget for the current financial year is 223.8 million. And there was an issue of consultants that was raised. I'd like to say here, consultants are only 0.79% of our budget. So I also would like, Chairperson, to respond to the issue of non-payment of SMMEs. It is a major concern to us as the Department of Small Business Development. However, we have, working together with the Department of Monitoring and Evaluation, as well as CFA's own call center, we are doing our best to make sure that small and medium enterprises are paid on time, because we do believe that they do not have the big pockets. Also, Chairperson, There was an issue that was raised about financial intermediaries, and we are, as a department, working as fast as we possibly can to make sure that the support that we give to small and medium enterprises is as direct as it possibly can be. I would also like to acknowledge the portfolio members, the portfolio committee members, Chairperson, and I do take this opportunity to thank them, as led by the Chairperson, Honorable Ruth Bengu, particularly because our participation in the oversight visits have enriched our interventions and policy approaches. Also, our visits, traveling with the portfolio committee, has also enabled us to see where the shortcomings are. And part of what we see is a shortcoming is the poor coordination between the three spheres of government. And we have indicated that we will do everything we can to make sure that we improve the coordination between the three spheres of government. Also included in that, our travel with the portfolio committee has clearly indicated to us the importance of public-private partnership. And we are going to be increasing in our engagement as far as that is concerned. I would also like to express my appreciation for the support I have received from my family, and today my family is represented by a student and a close relative, and Ntokozo Dlamini, and I'm hoping that part of what our young people will do is to make sure that they get as much education as they possibly can, changing the face of small and medium enterprises through ensuring that they get educated. I also would like to thank my family particularly for their unconditional love and support, and for enabling me and being a pillar of my strength, enabling me to crisscross the country, leaving them at home on their own and being able to take care of themselves. I'd like to thank them because this job is a very difficult job. I would also like to acknowledge my colleagues, my cabinet colleagues, for their continued support and advice. And as I said earlier on in my statement, that I no longer I don't have to be a police person to find that ministers and deputy ministers and government officials are on their own recognizing the importance of small and medium enterprises and supporting them as much as they possibly can. It would not be, I would not be able to walk away without a special appreciation for the Deputy Minister, Ms. Elizabeth Tabete, who shared her depth of experience in the sector and worked with me to establish the Department of Small Business Development since its establishment in 2014. I wish to really thank her and wish her well in her new endeavor. I would also like to thank Deputy Minister Nomathemba November for your support, even though it's been a short while, but I really thank your support. I also would like to thank all the other MECs of economic development in all the provinces who have really come up to be of full support for small and medium enterprises. And we know that as a department, we have to work with them very closely just so as to make sure that the coordination and coordinated approach is done properly. I wish to thank also the private sector for those that have been out there working with us. Even as I am here morning, I met with some of the big business who are really wanting to be of support to small and medium enterprises. Mainly also, I would like to thank the entrepreneurs themselves. As I said earlier in my inputs, these are the people who make me get up in the morning and do the job, because many of them actually are not waiting for government support on their own, and many of them are in the gallery there. On their own, they stretch as far as they possibly can to make sure that their businesses work. But of course, our responsibility is to make sure that we create a conducive environment for them, and we are committed in doing that. Finally, Chairperson, permit me to say all the work that one is doing at the moment and all the support that we are getting would not really have much of an impact if we continue to have the violence that is ongoing against women, and in particular, young women. So as I close, I would also like to dedicate just a few seconds to Karabo Mukwena and thousands of other women who have suffered the brutal attack and murder by people that they loved best. I would like to call upon all South Africans to really put their political differences aside when it comes to trying to deal with this scourge. It is a difficult situation for us all, but I'm hoping that working together, we can change this for the young women and men of South Africa to live in a conducive environment where they can be able to grow and see the future. With those words, Chairperson, I wish to thank you and also to say to the other members, thank you for your positive contribution towards helping us build the department. And as for those who had their negative comments, unfortunately today, I came here with one thing and one thing in my mind. I need to focus on the job of supporting small and medium enterprises. And I think that the millions of those who are at home are expecting us to be positive when it comes to the presentation of the budgets. And those who think I am invisible, it's very unfortunate that they think I'm invisible. There's nothing invisible when you are black. Maybe there's something invisible when we are something else.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable members, this closes the debate on vote 31. Members are reminded that the debate on cooperative governance and traditional affairs budget vote will take place at 16 hours 15 minutes in the National Assembly chamber, and the debate on justice and constitutional development budget vote will take place at 16 hours 15 minutes in the old Assembly chamber. That concludes the business of this mini plenary session.